Welcome to Thursdays on the Stoop. Today we have Marlanda, Dekine, and so sorry. I psyched myself out on, on the last name. I really did because I said it wrong the first time, and then anyway, I'm gonna let you say your last name properly because I messed it up, I think.
No problem, Quinn. Marlanda Dekine.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dekine. I'm horrible. So Marlanda Dekine is a queer freshwater Gullah descendant who writes poems and reads them aloud. She's the author of Thresh and Hold, Hub City Press, and I Am from a Punch and a Kiss. Dekine is the founder of Dekine Cultural Strategies and Speaking Down Barriers. Her poetry has appeared in Academy of American Poets, Poem a Day, Orion, Poetry, Kalalu, Olalu. I'm probably saying a lot of things wrong. I'm sorry. Oxford American and other journals. She will begin her MDiv at Union Theological Seminary in the fall. She holds a BA in psychology from Furman University as an MSW from the University of South Carolina and an MFA from Converse University. But I think there's so much more interesting than the degrees that she's pursuing. So I think it's all no, I feel like I'm sorry. There was a different I feel like there was a lot of other accomplishments in the other bio that I had. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Quinn. I
Please,
appreciate it.
please. I'm a terrible host. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. If you did not see on the screen here, um, it's very important to me to be accessible to all different kinds of folks. So I'm going to tell you what this screen says. The part that's important is to please get a cup of water you don't need. So maybe you need water, so that would be one cup, and then there'll be another cup of water that you won't need to drink. And if you don't have a cup, you can use a bowl, any kind of vessel is fine. Um, I'm very excited to be with you for this hour that's going to move pretty quickly. I want to give you the most sincere welcome to this space that we're creating here together. Um, when I have the opportunity to share practices that are useful to me in my own writing, I think a lot about care. And that's the care that I want to give myself, a practice of care, of learning how to care for myself and what I need, and making sure that I remind those spending time with me that you also have that same autonomy. And I don't mean that in some kind of I'm not your teacher, but I mean it in the sense of if you need to uh, black out your screen, leave the room, take a walk, anything you need to do to take care of yourself, I want you to do it. And then while we're in this space, there's so much going on around us. And this space, at least for me, when it was built out, it was a little bit of a cave space, a space for me to go deep within, not insulating myself from the world, but preparing myself to go back out. So I want to bring all that care to this space. And also, I talked about accessibility. Something else I want you to know is that we will have writing prompts, but if you have a recording device or if you're able to record yourself talking on your phone, you can do the writing prompt that way. So you don't have to write for the entire time that's allotted for you to write. You can also just record yourself. Some people draw or sketch. So whatever it is that feels like the thing that you want to do at that time, prioritize your care and what it is that you see to be useful in the moment and do that. Um, Another note on accessibility too, I'll be reading a couple of poems, but I've included the poems in this PowerPoint. So You'll hear me reading the poem, but you'll also be able to see the poem. And if you need access to it later, please reach out and I'll make sure that I get it to you. I've also shared these slides with Blue Stoop so they can share it back to you. And then presence, again, it's strange to be the disembodied head speaking. At the same time, the amount of presence that you are able to give today may be different than yesterday and will be different than the next moment. And so I want that to be something that is meaningful to you, the amount of presence you want to give the space. If you can be here for the full time that we're here, that would be great. And this is basically how it's going to go. I'm going to read these poems. We're going to do a breathing exercise. We're going to do some automatic writing, somatic grounding, and hopefully there'll be time for reflection. We got 50 minutes, and I called it a slow sacred space. It's usually a 2.5 hour workshop that I'm cramming into this hour, so we're going to see what we do. But again, thank you all for being here. The poems that we're going to hear today come from Lucille Clifton, Victoria Chang, and Lee Young Lee. I have the titles there at the top. My mama moved among the days. I once was a child. Have you prayed? And then at the bottom, I've listed poems that explore memory, lineage, and ancestry and land. I didn't list the poems, but I listed the authors because I think they have a good bit of work that do this. There, of course, are many, many more that you probably already know about. But I wanted to include these folks here at the bottom here. We got Joy Harjo, Honoré Fannin Jeffers, Ariana Benson, Destiny Hemphill, C.A. Conrad, Tyree Day, Dr. Ramalika Imhotep, and there's so many more. I'm now going to get into the poem. So, what I want you to do is just get comfy and imagine it's like this one-on-one reading just for you wherever you are. We're first going to hear from Lucille Clifton, thinking about poetry, ancestry, and the internal field, what moves within us, what we carry within us in every place that we go. This poem is titled My Mama Moved Among the Days. My mama moved among the days like a dream walker in a field. Seemed like what she touched was hers, seemed like what touched her couldn't hold. She got us almost through the high grass, then seemed like she turned around and ran right back in, right back on in. And these aren't close readings for today. I just want you to let the language fall over you. I Once Was a Child by Victoria Chang. I once was a child, am a child, am someone's child, not my mother's, not my father's. The boss gave us special treatment for something special, a lollipop or a sticker glitter from the toy box. The better we did, the better the plastic prize made in China. 1 year, everyone got a spinning top. 1 year, everyone got a tap on their shoulders. 1 year, everyone was fired. Everyone fired but me. 1 year, we all lost our words. 1 year, my father lost his words to a stroke of bad luck. Stuck his words, used to be so worldly. His words fired him, let him go without notice. Can they do that? Can she do that? Yes, she can. In this land, she can. Once we sing songs around a piano. This land is your land. This land is my land. In this land, someone always owns the land. In this land, someone who owns the land owns the buildings on the land, owns the people in the buildings, unless an earthquake sucks the land in like a long noodle. Have You Prayed by Lee Young Lee. When the wind turns and asks in my father's voice, have you prayed? I know three things. One, I'm never finished answering to the dead. Two, a man is four winds and three fires, and the four winds are his father's voice, his mother's voice, or maybe he's seven winds and 10 fires, and the fires are seeing, hearing, touching, dreaming, thinking, or is he the breath of God? When the wind turns traveler and asks in my father's voice, have you prayed? I remember three things. One, a father's love is two-thirds, oh boy, I can't see from the top. It's two-thirds, okay, it's milk and sugar, two-thirds worry, two-thirds grief, and what's left over is trimmed and leavened to make the bread the dead and the living share. And patience, that's to endure the terrible leavening and kneading. And wisdom, that's my father's face in sleep. When the wind asks, have you prayed? I know it's only me reminding myself a flower is one station between earth's wish and earth's rapture, and blood was fire, salt, and breath long before it quickened any wand or branch, any limb that woke speaking. It's just me, in the gowns of the wind, or my father through me, asking, have you found your refuge yet? Asking, are you happy? Strange, a troubled father, a happy son, the wind with a voice, and me talking to no one. I'm going to ask that you find a comfy place, and if you feel safe to do so, I want you to close your eyes. We're going to explore this concept of internal heritage. And if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, I would like for you to find somewhere to focus in the room where you are, in the space where you are. And I'm going to ask that you would follow my voice. We're going to breathe together, and then I'll give you some prompts for visualizations. Again, take care of yourself. I'm going to ask that you breathe into your stomach to fill your stomach up with air, counting to 4. So breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold the breath. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. Breathe in. On a count that feels good to you, hold the breath at the top and breathe out. Hold the breath, breathe in, breathe out. In, breathe out. Breathe in, and out. Keep breathing deeply. As I guide you, I ask that you would bring to mind the land and water around where you grew up. Bring to mind the land, the trees, the earth, lakes, rivers, dirt, mountains around where you grew up. Just look around. Continue to breathe. Take note of everything that you see around you. It's okay if you don't see anything at all. Just be with your breath. Continue to breathe deeply and bring to mind a personal or literary ancestor who lived during a different time than you. Bring to mind an ancestor, personal or literary, who lived during a different time than you. Remember to breathe in deeply, breathe out, let yourself relax. Study their face. Thank them and let them know you'll visit later. Bring to mind an object that is important to you and this ancestor. Bring to mind an object that is important to you and this ancestor. Study the object, color, size, weight. Breathe in, breathe out. Place your hand on your heart if you are able. Breathe in, breathe out. Gently tap your heart while you're breathing in and breathing out. Allow yourself to come back from this very quick moment of visualization. And when well, I would like for you to take that hand that is covering your heart and grab a pencil or a pen, a notebook or a notepad. If you must use technology, go ahead and get prepared to type. I want you to think about the name of the ancestor you just saw. If you did not see anyone at all, that is okay. I want you to insert a name here. And we're going to write a very quick letter. We're going to do a practice of automatic writing. What I want you to do is if you are using your hand on paper, I want you to write without stopping. Just like like you're freely going, you don't know what you're saying. And if you try to edit yourself and try to know what you're after, I want to ask that you just keep writing. I don't know why Marlanda is making me do this. That is what you will write instead. So put that pencil, that pen to paper, and you're going to write, Dear whoever the ancestor was, when you were alive, I imagine, and free write from there. And we're only going to have 3 minutes. This is very, very quick. Don't worry, you can go back to it later. I want you to go. And if you have any questions at all, please put them in the chat. Go. Keep writing, don't edit yourself. Got a few seconds left. Okay, you can stretch your fingers, and we're going to prepare to do one more little moment of this. Uh, okay. So now I want you to just make a line or something to signal that you're doing something else to let yourself know. And this next one is we're going to do 5 minutes. And please use the chat if you have any questions or concerns. I'll be sure to message you back. All right. Now we're going to, let's click forward. Okay. So now the ancestor is going to write back in this next one. So, dear Marlanda, you are alive and I imagine. And this will be from whoever that literary or personal ancestor was that came to you during the visualization. Again, if no one came, it's perfectly all right and natural and normal. I want you to insert a name that's meaningful to you for this exercise today. We're going to do this for 5 minutes. The same style of automatic writing, not style, but the same mode, automatic writing of pen, pencil to page, as long as you can go without editing yourself or overthinking it, just letting it flow out. And go. Okay, bring them whatever you're writing to a stop, like to a complete sentence or an ending that feels good for you. No worry for it to make lots of sense at this time. Don't worry about the sense making. Save that for another time. Um, I want to move us forward. We'll come back to this shortly. We're going to take a moment to bring ourselves back to wherever we've traveled. So just wherever you're sitting, wherever you are, if you can safely soften your gaze again in the same way that we did before. Except this time, I want you to bring your attention to your feet, or even your arms and your hands, and just um, become very aware of the pressure and weight connected to them. Are your feet against the floor? Allow that pressure to go down and notice the pressure against the floor. Feel the weight of your seat, yourself in the seat, wherever you are, to be very present to your body. And if it feels okay to you, I want you to imagine drawing up support from the ground beneath you, wherever you are. I'm going to do a few awkward movements. I invite you to join me, but if you can gently rub down your arms from your shoulder to elbow in a moving hug. So you're just doing this, and you can breathe in and out about 10 times, a deep, slow breath. This is settling our nervous system. These are things you can do in the world, no matter where you are. Let's try to get 10 deep breaths in. Next, I want you to pay attention to your surroundings and identify 5 things that you can see. If you're able to see, I want you to identify 5 things you're able to see around you. They don't have to be anything extravagant. There's 5 things right around you. For me, there's a candle, a snowball, a hole puncher, tarot cards, and a cell phone. 4 things you can feel, whether that's your clothes, something in front of you, the desk, the computer, the phone. Uh, 4 things you can feel, the air on your skin. Next, I want you to listen for 3 sounds. Identify 2 smells, 2 things you can smell right now, and 1 thing you can taste. right now in this moment. That can be toothpaste, water, a sip of a drink you have, or just the inside of your wonderful mouth. Focus on one taste. And now, wherever you are, you can stand up or remain seated. We're going to shake our hands and our arms and just release any lingering tension. You can look as weird as you feel comfortable looking. Mm. Shake it out, shake it out. And then I want you to just notice how your body feels and take one deep breath. Mm. Okay. And come on back. It's my favorite thing to do. I could live like that and just do that all day. So why did I get into whatever I want to call this thing that I didn't create? It's just something that is a hodgepodge of a lot of things that have been helpful to me. And so I think the reason why I got into this concept of ancestral connection or the epistolary form, and I'll talk about both in just a second. Ancestral connection was important to me because when I moved back home in 2019, it's right before the pandemic, and during the pandemic, I had this deep longing arise in me that was probably there for a very long time, but I had been doing all kinds of things to just numb that awareness. And I found myself wanting to get closer to who had come before me, people who had transitioned in my own lineage. And they left all these objects at their houses. And I am in Georgetown, South Carolina, not far from plantations where they were sharecroppers. And then even before that, were enslaved. And so going to those places that are 2 miles down the road and being with the land that I began to realize it wasn't just, the yard. It was, this is where my ancestors walked. These are the tools they touched. This is the bowl that, my grandmother I never met. She died before I was born. This is the bowl she cooked inside of. And then hearing stories that I'd never paid attention to before. But in that particular time, it felt like every story was like, you hear about Southern Bibles and people writing down birth dates and letting you know what your family lineage is and the connectedness and where you come from. And I just couldn't get enough of it. And so I began to write letters as a form of experimentation connected to my own spiritual practices. And I think even connected to the way that my grandmother would speak with her mother, who was not alive, but she would just speak to her no matter where she was in the house. And she did not read or write, but I wanted to see what it would be like for me to reach in the way that she did. And I also found myself returning to a dignity that's inherent in these lives that I'm connected to. And that's outside of like the Western canon and all these other things that have their place. And there are things I learned from reading all kinds of things. But I really wanted to live in the stories that root me and tell me more about the spiritual core of who I am. And so I found myself fascinated, and I love a strong I in a poem. And so what I found was that the more I wrote letters like this, there were voices that would develop in the poems that were helping me to access a narrative that I didn't have the full story of. I will never, there's some things I will never know. So how can I get into the space the empty spaces, the stolen spaces, um, and reclaim what belongs to that lineage. And these letters help me to do that. And again, none of this begins with me. The form that I think this practice is deeply connected to is a theory, a methodology that Saidiya Hartman talks about in I believe it's an essay in Venus in Two Acts. And it's a methodology combining archival research. So archives, family archives. I mentioned the family Bible. There are census records, death certificates, birth certificates, um, all kinds of things, obituaries, and then combining that with critical theory and narrative storytelling to redress the silence of enslaved people in historical records. And there's tons and tons of books on documentary poetics that explore this more deeply. But I was not aware that that's what was happening until talking to other folks that were doing some of the same things and realizing like, oh, okay, n nothing new under the sun. And what I also found was that I got very excited about creating personas because the voices that were coming back through the second letter, where the ancestor is writing back, it was quite amazing some of the stuff that came through. I was very shocked, but I also found that I could express a love, an ache, a longing, whatever that searching that I had going on could be expressed in a letter. And my imagination, the child self of me that wanted to explore other ways to look at something, and what would my granddaddy say about, whatever the situation might be. But then also if you're using characters, even in fiction, what would your character say to you about what you think that character ought to be doing? Fascinating stuff. And they will talk back. And then even social critique, it's another way of turning the perspectives for a reader, for yourself, or whoever your work is intended for. And so I find it to be a very useful practice to dig into these letters from before. And I really appreciate you all spending this time with this practice. And I want to open up to just hear from you any reflections that you all have connected to this practice. I will say that I do recommend that you hide what you wrote for at least 2 weeks. I've told people to dig holes and bury it, put it in a drawer, do whatever particular spiritual practice that may connect with you and your own ancestry. You can add that to the process and make it your own. And then when you dig it back out, I always encourage folks to circle what stands out, circle what's strange, what's moving for you, and as much as you can to not share it with anyone else until you're ready, but to not approach it as though it has to um, make any particular sense yet. And sometimes you'll find there's more to write and there's more that wants to come through. And so you usually these are 10 to 15-minute writing prompts. And we did them in a much shorter amount of time. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can talk for a second. I'd love to hear any reflections from you all. And if you want to share anything that you've written, that's perfectly fine. This is not a critique space. It'll just be for you to share with folks and as an offering. I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. I think I'm back. So any reflections that anyone wants to share? We have about 10 minutes here.
I can share.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, or maybe not. Okay, I have to do it a different way. Okay. Um, so it says, if there was more time, I would not have taken you for granted. I never said that your hugs were my favorite part of home, that calling you on the phone was better than any shopping spree. Your guidance was more valuable than treasure. I anticipated every weekend spent. It really got me through the week. Where I lived was dark, but you brought me out into the light. Your kindness gave me assurance that everything was going to be all right. I was taken care of, shopped for, and loved. Made sure I was not abandoned or forgotten. All my needs you provided, and I was not even your own. I'm going to stop right there.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Did I say your name correctly?
Yes,
Thank you
thank
so much
you.
for sharing.
I'm not seeing the chat. Is there a reason?
Say that one more time.
I don't have access to the chat. Is that normal?
Oh, I don't know. Do others not have access to the chat?
So I'm not sure there's a lot posted in the
Okay,
regular chat. So
someone's posting now.
Okay, actually, it
Um,
just came through. I'm sorry. It must have been a delay in my
okay,
internet.
so you
Thank
saw that.
you.
Okay. I
and
think there
I'll
was
read
nothing in the chat.
what's here. This was a very powerful practice and made me much more aware of those that came before me. The ancestor writing back to me was a complete flip of perspective, like Marlanda mentioned. Awesome. Awesome. Anyone else? Thank you so much.
I can
Let's
share
see.
some reflections from
Please do.
the workshop. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, and also for like taking care of us. I feel like the somatics and all the breath work really released a lot for me afterwards. That was nice. Um,
Hi, Noor.
I Hi Marlanda. I'm so glad I could make your workshop. Um, Let me turn my video on. Hold on. But I wanted to say that, like, the ancestor that I thought of was my grandmother. And when I wrote to her, I felt myself wanting to write about my partner. And I found that even in the free write, it was difficult because I don't know how she would have felt about me being queer. She died when I was very young. And then it was funny because so I kind of beat around the bush even in writing the poem to mention her, and then in the response she was like, "Actually, that was really nice for me, and thank you." And then she just moved on. It was like one sentence about it, and then she was just like, "All right, now on to the meat." Like it was very funny, and it felt very affirming. So thank you for this exercise.
Beautiful, Noor. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Hmm. Uh, is it Ravneet? Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, it's Ravneet. Yeah,
Ravneet?
thank you so much for this workshop.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. I just was going to read what you wrote, but if you want to say it, I don't want to say it for you unless you want me to.
Yeah, this was the ancestor was a my great grandmother.
Uh-huh.
And she had a lot of kids. So I think the passage at the end was, I wish I could have traveled more. She couldn't really travel much, but I traveled with all my children. You're all over the
Mm,
world now. I hope they
mm.
never catch you and bring you back to the rabbit hole. And I
Oh,
that
that's
was such a surprise when that showed up because I was like, oh, what is the rabbit hole? Oh, yeah,
mm.
thank you.
Yeah,
Just
thank you
love the
for
practice.
sharing that. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, and now that brought up a lot for me. My grandmother used to say, "Y'all are all my children," and that's what that made me think about. Judy, thank you so much for sharing this wonderful practice. The automatic writing feels like channeling ancestors and opening another portal. Yes, portals. I love portals. I love what you said about reclaiming stolen spaces. One fragment I have is, quote, "And I know how that love is or isn't shown." From me to my ancestor. Yes. Yes, there's also and you may have noticed this, it's very common in the times that I've done this space for folks to find themselves saying something they haven't been able to say yet, or even receiving something that they would have never thought would have come through. And I think that's something else that's really created in the intimate space of a letter. Anyone else have any reflections? Okay. I do want to I'm going to share my screen one more time because when I thought initially I like to have resources and I thought, what are my resources? And I kept feeling like as much as you can read the poets I've listed at the bottom, I just think are such um great resources. I always say I love to listen to podcasts and I love to read about the craft of poetry. I think all of that is very important. So don't mishear what I'm about to say. I will say for myself, I've learned the most about this particular way of writing and gotten very excited about the connections found in the writing of the folks that I've listed here. And there's so many more that I couldn't remember. But I strongly recommend these folks. And I should have added um, Lady Long Soldier as well. I'll put that in the chat. It looks like somebody else. Oh yes, Chin Chin. Yes. Um, and Ocean Vuong. Uh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop sharing here. We have 5 minutes left. I don't know how I did that, but but if there are any questions that you have, just moving from reflections to questions, any questions for me related to the work that we've done together today, the work you've done for yourself today. Um, yeah, any questions? Did you shake it all out?
Could you share more about why you recommend burying or like hiding what we wrote?
hmm So for me, the the physical work. I dug a lot of holes during the pandemic. Um, so it's very particular to me. I would get just very angry at the fact that I had no control over what was happening. In many, pandemic, but also in my personal life, there were things going on. And so the act of digging the hole, in the same way that the body shaking, that somatic activity, it did something to, it was almost like the writing brought something into my body and stirred up something, and the digging of the hole was like releasing it. This relationship with the land, perhaps in that way. And then I would take what I wrote and put it in the hole. Not a very deep hole. I can't dig, but but so deep. But I put it in the hole, I bury it, and put a timer on my phone to remind me to go back. And it just became its own little ritual, and I found it was very useful to me. I'm also a Capricorn moon, so all the emotion and physical activity, that's perfect thing for me to do. So yeah, I think that's why for me, I recommend the whole. Now when I'm talking to other folks, um, I will say put it in a drawer or, I try to think about it in terms of where do we keep the things that we care deeply about. The drawer next to the bed or um, the places where you put your jewelry, like thinking about it in the terms of that kind of an object. And so that is why I say that. And then the act of returning to it, it creates a connection of a future self coming back to a letter from before. You're tapping into the before in the letter, but you yourself are now becoming the person going back to the letter. Um, yeah,
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you.
awesome. You're very welcome. Anyone else? We got about 2 minutes. You're very welcome. Is it Rolanda? Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. This was such an amazing session. So much appreciated.
You're very welcome. Let's see, Teresa. Do you suggest the 3 minutes and 5 minutes? No, I usually say if you can do 10 minutes to do 10, and sometimes we do 12. Um, it was because of our time constraints that I did that today. Yeah. I think if we did the 10 or 12, yeah, we would have been a bit over. My goal was to get under. You're very welcome. Thank you, Revneet, for the poem. You're very welcome, Judy. My sun sign is Gemini, rising Libra. Yes. Um, I'm trying to, is there any Lee Young Lee, Lucille Clifton, Victoria Chang, if you can read everything they ever wrote. That is my homework. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. I am really thankful to Blue Stoop for having me. Thank you all for allowing me to share space with you and your folks and your community. I am in South Carolina, but today I got to be in Philly, and I'm really excited about that. So, thank you for having me. Send me a cheesesteak, please. And you're in Philly, right? Did I make that up? Okay, okay, okay. Okay. But yeah, thank y'all so much.